Hi everyone, this is the third video to help you prepare for the final exam for science. Remember that there are 15 multiple choice questions and 5 written response questions. There will be 3 questions from this lesson, which is lesson 3. In your book it's called lesson 1. It's information processing in animals. Okay, and there's going to be 1 written response question. They are from 3 different pages, 4 different pages actually. So you will have to study information on 4 different pages. So let's summarize the information on page 62 first. Here you will get a multiple choice question. So the first thing we need to know is that sense organs gather information from the environment. Sense means when we get information. Another word you may see instead of get is gather. It just means to collect. We collect all the information from around us. Okay, so we can use our eyes, we use it to see with. We use our ears to hear. We use our nose to smell. Our tongue to taste. And our skin to touch. Now that's what we do, but different animals use their structures, their body parts, differently to do these things. Okay, so let's look at some examples of animals and how they use it. The first one we're going to look at is eyes. So these are the biggest eyes, the largest eyes on an animal. And these eyes are on something called the colossal squid. So the largest eyes, the biggest eyes, are on the colossal squid. And this is because it lives deep in the ocean. Okay, so it lives deep down in the ocean, so it needs to see well because there's not a lot of light over there. Okay, so I'm just going to add that information, deep in the ocean. Okay, I'll try and choose a different color for ears so we can see it a little more clearly. So the animal that has the biggest ears, is from our African elephant. Sorry, the African elephant has the biggest ears. And this lets it hear from far away. It can hear things from very far from each other, okay? And the reason for this is because when they travel far from each other so they can hear their sounds as they want to move together. So the largest ears are from the African elephant, and it lets it hear from far away, miles from each other. Okay, then we have our sense of smell. Okay, so we smell with our nose, but an ant does not have a nose. Ants do not have a nose. They have something called an antenna. So remember, antenna. And they use the antenna to smell. So ants use an antenna to smell. And this is how they find where they are going. Okay, so ants use an antenna to smell. They use it to find each other and their food. Okay, then we're going to look at, let me try a different color. Hope you can see this in orange. We have our tongue that we use to taste. But did you know that the butterfly uses its feet? So the butterfly uses its feet to taste. And this is because when it lands on a leaf, it can tell if this leaf is going to taste good, it will lay its egg there. If it doesn't taste good, it will look for another one. Okay, so the butterfly uses its feet to taste. Why? So it can find a good leaf for its egg. Okay, so these are our 4 animals that they spoke about on page 62 and why these sense organs help it to collect information. Now let's look on page 63. Sorry about that. So on page 63 of our book, we're going to have one multiple choice question, and they say that it's going to be about this picture. But we know in last term's exam that even when they told us something was about a picture, there was sometimes information where they asked us about what was on the page, not really the picture. So we will go over mainly the picture, but you also need to understand the other animals and the other information on the page, just to be safe. Okay, so the main thing on this page is in the picture we have our pit viper. So this snake over here is called a pit viper. And it is called that because it has a pit. A pit are these holes. So this in the front is the nose. It does have a nose, but it also has an extra hole on its face called a pit. The pit is the organ, the body part, that detects infrared light. So just like we use our eyes to detect light, we use it to see, this snake has an extra organ that helps it to see infrared light. This is light that our eyes cannot see. It comes from something that is warm. So this snake can see things, the heat from their body. It can see when something is warm. And this is how it can find its prey. So this animal, again, uses the pit organ to see. The other organs that are extra in animals mentioned on this page are bats that use something called echolocation. Echolocation is when sound is reflected, so they use reflected sound to find their prey. So animals that use reflected sound are bats, dolphins, and whales. There's another kind of animal that has something extra on its body, and this is called the duck-billed platypus. And this animal uses its bill to detect weak electric fields. It just helps them to see things, see movement in water. Okay, so the main information is about this snake and the pit organ. Those are the key words you have to remember, okay? Pit organ, that it detects infrared light. What is infrared light? It's the warm the warmth from the body of an animal that it wants to catch, which we call it the prey. Okay, the next page was page 64. It's been over here, and there's a lot of information on here. Page 64 and 65 are linked together. 64 is going to be one multiple choice question. That means you will choose A, B, C, or D. But 65 is a writing question. So you should know the information from this page because it may be asked for page 65 as well. Okay, they are, like I said, linked together. So I'm going to explain this to you by making it into a little diagram to help you remember. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the system called the nervous system. The nervous system is the part of the body that's responsible for taking information from around you, from understanding it, and from telling your body what to do with that information. So it's made up of two main parts. So the big name, nervous system. The two parts it's made of is central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. Okay, so if you can just remember the word nervous system, you will find it a little easier to remember the other two. The words on the end are repeated. So remember central, peripheral. Okay, I'm going to try and use two different colors to represent them so it's easier for us. So our central nervous system, central, middle. It's in the middle of your body. Okay, so remember central, in the middle of your body. It's made up of two parts. It's made up of the brain and the spinal cord. So the brain and the spinal cord are part of our central nervous system. Okay, so again, central nervous system, brain, spinal cord. Peripheral nervous system, the second one, is on the edge of our body. So the peripheral nervous system is made up of nerves. And this is the part that is connected to our sense organs, the ones we learned about just before. So your ears, your eyes, these are your sense organs. They are joined to your nerves that makes up your peripheral nervous system. Now these nerves are the only things that are connected to the spinal cord. Because your brain is so important, it is only gets its information from the spinal cord. So the nerves, when it collects information, so the sense organs send information to the nerves. The nerves send the information to the spinal cord. The spinal cord will send the information to the brain. So the nerves are not connected to the brain. They're only connected to the spinal cord and the sense organs. The brain only deals with the spinal cord. Once the brain receives the message and decides what it's going to do, it will then send the message back to the spinal cord, which will take it back to the nerves, which will take it back to your muscles or whichever part of your body it wants it to do something and make it react. Okay, so these are the parts of our nervous system. Let's look at a diagram to help us understand it a little bit better. So we'll use this picture because this is the one we'll get a writing question about. Okay, so here's our brain. A is your brain. B is your spinal cord. And C is your nerves. Okay, remember that C is your peripheral nervous system. And A and B together make up our central nervous system. Okay, so possible questions you may get. We've already discussed it. But one thing we did not speak about is reflex and stimulus and response. So a stimulus is a change. When something changes around you, in your environment, we call it a stimulus. It could be light, sound, anything that your body can detect, like what you see, what you hear, what you touch. When these things change around you, your body will react. So stimulus is when something changes around you. What your body does is called your response. Response, what your body does. So the stimulus is the change around you. Your response, what your body does. Okay? Sometimes our body has to respond quickly. So very quickly, our body has to do something. For example, if we touch something very hot. If we touch something hot, like a hot pan, if you touch this, your body will react very quickly. And that is because you don't have time for the message to go first to your brain and then tell you to respond. So this quick reaction is called a reflex. A reflex is a quick reaction without the brain knowing. So if the brain is not the one in charge, it is the spinal cord telling your body what to do. So a reflex is when your spinal cord takes action very quickly. So it's when you touch something hot and you just move your hand without even thinking about it. It just happens. When somebody scares you and you jump, it's a reflex. You didn't think about it, you just jumped. Okay, so a reflex is a quick action from the spinal cord. There is no message from the brain. Okay, these are our main points. There is only one word that I have not mentioned, and this word is called perception. So when we can recognize and understand a stimulus, so when we recognize and respond to a stimulus, we call this perception. Okay, so perception, maybe you've heard that word before. Perception, the meaning of it is when we recognize, that means we can tell that there's a change around us and our body responds to it. So these two words together, recognizing our stimulus and our response, is perception. Okay, those are the main points from these pages, and here are some examples of what these questions looked like in past exams. Okay, so you may be given in the written response a figure like this and asked to label A, B, or C. So please know the words for A, B, and C. Remember I told you A is our brain, B is the spinal cord, C is our nerves. Question 2 says, which letter represents a thick band? Letter, which means do not tell us the name, tell us the letter of the part that is made of the thick band of nerves in the spine. That would be B. Okay, if they asked you which letter represents the part that processes information, that would be A, your brain. Which part receives information from the sense organs, that would be C. You must know what each part does, okay? Number 3, what are the two parts of the nervous system? Central and peripheral. You must know these words and try to learn their spelling as well, okay? Over here, you need to know what is A, B, and C. We've done that already. And this question's a little different. Define the nerves that are not part of the central nervous system and receives sensory information from other parts of the body. So what do we call the nerves that are not central? We call them peripheral. Okay, this word, nervous system, the spelling is over here. You just have to learn the first section. Hey, please scan the code and give some questions a try, and good luck.